VHS, the annual found footage horror anthology film series, is back, and this year they're taking a little bit of a swing because they are focusing on science fiction horror. So this time around, you're not getting any ghosts, you're not getting any demons. Instead, you're getting some UFOs, you're getting some robots, you're getting aliens. And I will say, it was kind of a fun, entertaining pivot from what they were doing previously. And I don't know if I was necessarily like overly hyped for this, but the moment I saw that one of the segments was going to be directed by Kate Siegel, written by Mike Flanagan, and starring Alana Pierce, my hype level went from like 6 to 11. And so like, is this the best one? I don't know, to be honest with you. There's so many of these movies. I've seen all of them, but they all kind of mesh together, and I didn't get a chance to rewatch all of them. So I can't give you like a definitive, this is the best one. But what I will say is this is probably one of the most memorable ones. Some of these segments will stick with me for quite a while. So that being said, let's just jump into it. I think the best way to tackle a review for this movie is to talk about each segment and review each segment. And I will say out the gate, I'm going to spoil all 6 of these segments. So if you've not seen this movie and you care about this kind of stuff, please bookmark this video and come back later after you've seen it. That being said, let's get into it. So the first segment is Abduction Adduction by Jay Cheel. I don't know if there's a whole lot to say about this one. This one kind of acts as like a bridge between each segment. Previously, a lot of the other films had this kind of like, side story that was connecting all of the other stories here. And I would say that most people, myself included, thought that those inclusions were kind of the weakest parts of these movies. Like, those stories aren't really that strong. But here they do something a little differently. Like, this film is kind of like a found footage documentary. There's talking heads, there's people giving information about the history of aliens and UFOs, and I think it is kind of a cool bridge to piece these other segments together. And not only that, but they do something clever. They actually have like the talking head interviewees talking about basically what you're going to see next in the next segment. So they'll talk about like, oh, this is the way aliens used to look like, this is the history of what we know what aliens look like. And then the next segment, you get an alien one. So I think it's kind of a clever use of using one of these segments to kind of piece these other segments together. So, but I will say this one probably has the scariest moment out of all of them. At the end of the segment, the last scene of the film, there's footage of an alien going into someone's room, and that whole sequence was probably the most terrifying moment of the entire movie. Especially like for a long time, for many years, I suffered through sleep paralysis. And if you don't know what that is, it just means that like, it's almost like your brain is awake, but your body is not. So you're unable to move, and you're like in this hallucinogenic state. And I used to see shadow people standing over my bed. I've seen shadow people get into bed. It's a terrifying thing that I don't wish upon anybody. But watching the scene reminded me of those moments when I was in my like early 20s when I was suffering through sleep paralysis. So yeah, that whole segment was that last segment of the film was probably the scariest moment of the film. But overall, it's fine. It's like I said, talking head stuff, informational stuff. Not much to say there, but it was cool. The next one is Storic, directed by Jordan Downey. This one was okay. I don't know, like for the first, I don't know, 10 to 15 minutes, I was just like, I was really bored. It really kind of opens with just like a shooting gallery. It feels like I'm watching Call of Duty. It's just a bunch of cops running around a house shooting a bunch of zombie aliens. And there's not a whole lot of weight to it. You don't care about anything. You're kind of just thrust into the situation. And I don't know, it just didn't quite do it for me. However, the moment the shooting stops and the cops start kind of like wandering the house and they start going towards the attic, then I started to get a little more invested. Then there was a little bit of tension, and then we get to the reveal, and the reveal is amazing. I chuckled, I laughed out loud. It's like a big ostrich alien thing. I couldn't help but chuckle when the camera panned up to see this alien ostrich. Really cool stuff. The stuff with the babies was really creepy. That moment where the cop goes to that crib and like pulls the blanket off, and you see like this monstrosity baby thing. I was like, man, this is wild. This is good stuff. But yeah, everything leading up to that was not really my cup of tea. Again, it's just action for action's sake. If that's your kind of thing, I'm sure you probably enjoyed it. There's a lot of gore, a chainsaw gets involved. But for me, I'm just like, I'm not invested in any of this. So this is just kind of wasted time for me. But yeah, once they start getting towards the attic, it became a little more interesting to me. But yeah. overall, a solid way to start the film. Not the best, but solid. The next one is called Dream Girl, directed by Virat Pal, if I'm saying that correctly. Sorry if I'm butchering that. And this one is basically a paparazzi who's following a very famous actress, and he stumbles, behind the scenes while filming a scene, and finds his way into the dressing room and starts talking to her, and then it starts to become there's more to this woman than meets the eye, I will say. Yeah, my only critique about this one, I actually like this one quite a bit, but my only critique is that the moment where she turns into a robot and sparks are flying, she's killing people. There's a moment where she goes back to the studio and there's 30 or 40 people running around in chaos, and she locks all the doors, and I was like, oh, we're doing an homage to Carrie. This is gonna get wild. But then the movie doesn't quite go as far as I wanted it to. Unfortunately, I thought she was gonna start throwing people around and killing people in horrific ways, kind of like Carrie. But instead, there's flashes of lights. They don't really do much with it, and it was just kind of a bummer. I thought it was kind of a missed opportunity for that scene to get wild and crazy and inventive. But instead, it's just flashing lights. It's kind of hard to tell what's going on, but overall, it was a pretty engaging and fun ride for 25 minutes. Again, like the first one, not the best, but it still had its really cool moments. It really cool reveals. That reveal in the trailer when he turns around, there's a face underwater. That was really cool, because at that point you're like, okay, something's going on with this woman, but you're not quite sure what. The fact that she's some raging manic robot on a killing spree was really fun. A really fun way to end the piece. But yeah, pretty solid. Next up is Live and Let Die by Justin Martinez, which is, a group of friends go skydiving, but in the middle of getting ready to skydive, they see a UFO in the sky, and the U.S. Air Force is trying to hunt it down, and their plane ends up crashing into the UFO, and they jump out of the plane, and they land in an orchard, and when they land, the alien lands with them, and so the alien starts killing people and chasing people around the orchard. This one to me was probably the standout. That whole opening, I don't know, it's funny because when in the first couple minutes when all the characters are doing the selfie camera stuff, I was just like, please kill these people. This is some of the most cringe-worthy character stuff I've ever seen. It is so bad. It's just like, whoa, Kevin, you ready to skydive? Let's fucking do it. It's just like, oh my god, please kill these people, please. It was insufferable. These characters were insufferable for the first couple minutes, and I was worried oh man, this one's not going to be if this is how we're starting, this is not going to be very good. But dude, just the visuals and just putting you in that moment in that plane as you're looking out the window and you see that almost District 9 looking UFO in the distance, and the Air Force is flying by, and him skydiving going the way down and seeing an alien grab one of his friends in midair. It was just and looking up at the plane as the plane is being destroyed. It was some of the coolest visuals I've seen from this franchise, and just a tense moment that I'll probably think of for the remaining future. This was a real standout, at least for the first 5 to 10 minutes, a huge standout for this franchise. The moment we get to the orchard, it's just kind of typical stuff. They're running around, aliens picking people off one by one. But what's cool about this one is that the alien isn't just grabbing someone and that's it. It goes places I didn't expect. It's the alien, it's cool creature design. It's the alien's head splits in half, and there's this light that's the shining on people. It's what the fuck is going on? And then they has blades like Baraka from Mortal Kombat, and it's, I don't know, it went places I did not expect it to. So overall, this to me was the standout. I thought it was fantastic. It was fun. It was something I've never seen before, and yeah, great piece. Next up is Fur Babies by Christian and Justin Long, and to be honest, I thought this one was the weakest. It's about a group of animal rights activists who find this woman who babysits dogs. They think something's up with her, so they go undercover to her house, and then, you know, shocker, she's turning humans into dogs, which is kind of a cool, crazy, batshit crazy idea. And some of the visuals are pretty gross, and just the idea is pretty fun. But overall, I don't know. I thought this one was the weakest. It does have a fun ending when the package, the guy who comes to steal the packages off the front door, and one of the dogs one of the dog humans flies out the doggy door and attacks him. That was freaking hilarious. That was a cool way to end it. But overall, yeah, I thought this one was the weakest. And then we get to Stowaway, the climax, the one that I've been waiting this whole time to watch. The directed by Kate Siegel, written by Mike Flanagan, starring Alana Pierce. I was just like, let's go. I'm ready. I want to see this. I thought it was fantastic. My guess is this is probably going to be everyone's least favorite. It is not gory. It is not scary. It is very it's a little character driven. It's a little psychological. The thing is like, yeah, this one doesn't have the gore. It doesn't have the zaniness of some of the other ones. But what I do think this one has is a concept that is absolutely terrifying. Alana Pierce's character is doing a documentary about people seeing lights in the Mojave Desert. And she, upon, recording around the area, she sees some lights. She goes up and sees this huge bubble in the middle of the desert. She goes into the bubble, realizes it's a spaceship, and then eventually she gets launched off into space. Cool thing is that there is nanotechnology that is able to heal her using her DNA. So there's a moment she touches this string, it cuts her. The nanotechnology comes in, fixes her finger. But the moment she gets into space, she apparently disintegrates once it goes into like light speed. And my understanding is that the ship doesn't have her DNA to put her back together again the way that she's supposed to. And instead, it's taking DNA from what it thinks a human should be. But what it creates is a monstrosity. It was really freaking bizarre. And it keeps the idea that I think is terrifying is that it keeps getting it wrong. So for I don't know however long it keeps trying to rebuild her, but every time it's getting worse and worse, and she just has to suffer through it. Just that idea is like absolutely gross, and just when you really sit and think about it, you're like, oh my god, that is scary as hell. That is scary as hell. So I don't know. This one was probably my second favorite. I thought Alana Pierce did really good. For a YouTuber, I think she did a fantastic job. Kate Siegel did a great job. I love the visuals inside the spaceship. It's one of those, like, it puts you at unease because you don't really know, you don't quite know what you're looking at. You're hinging on what Alana's character is describing to you, but everything is kind of distorted. It's black and white. It's like, what is happening? What is that? What is that? And then it gets into like some surreal imagery stuff. And dude, that moment when you get to see Earth was just like, whoa, that was cool. And then, the light speed stuff. So yeah, I thought this one was pretty damn strong. Again, probably my second favorite. So yeah, those are all the segments. I guess I'll rank them for you here. Why not? I mean, why not? We're here, right? Let's rank them. So I would say Live and Let Die is probably my favorite. Stowaway is probably my second, then probably Dream Girl, then Storic, and then Fur Babies. That would probably be my ranking. I don't know. I mean, maybe, and then the documentary one that bridges everything together is probably last. But yeah, solid entry. A lot of this, I think that, like I said, I think this is probably one of the most memorable VHSs. But yeah, super cool. I highly recommend this one. I mean, if you've already seen the other ones, you're gonna feel right at home here. I think you're gonna have a blast. I highly recommend this one. It's on Shudder right now. Please check it out. But yeah, have you seen this movie yet? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you agree with me? Did you not agree with me? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to know your thoughts. And until the next time, I will see you on the next one.